Balogun has just signed for Monaco. He signed a 5-year deal believed to be in the region of £35 million. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are seeing the various outlets, the Romanos, the Arsenal.coms, the Athletics, etc., all reporting on the potential fee believed to be €40 million plus add-ons. Some say 30 odd. And considering the amount of progress he made at Reims last season in Liga, in a top 5 division, where he bagged 21 league goals in 37 and was one of the highest scoring young players, and seeing his stock rise and rise and rise within the Arsenal fan base, in the general world of football, just making progress as a young player, you are stuck wondering, was it the right decision? Is it the right decision to get rid of Balogun? And in truth, nobody knows, people. No one knows. It's only what the future says. Throughout this video, I'm going to just offer my thoughts. And again, smash the like button and let me know yours. Again, when you see Haaland talents, you do see it's almost like planting seeds and watching them grow, and you are wondering, what if he was given an opportunity to thrive? You're seeing what Eddie Nketiah, Reece Nelson, Smith Rowe, Bukayo Saka, of various degrees, people, all in Arsenal squad. We all know Haaland is central to us, and we all know they're coming through. Equally, you've seen the careers Joe Willock, Iwobi are having. They're still playing Premier League football at the end of the day, and we wish the best for Balogun, people. Really, I think this was always going to happen. Again, the first thing I would say is currently there's several players ahead of him. Eddie Nketiah, a fellow Highlander. Trossard can also play as a false nine, people, as well, as you lot already know. You've obviously got Kai Havertz, who can play as a false nine and did play in the Community Shield as a false nine. You also have the luxury of Martinelli, and of course you've got the number one striker in our ranks, Gabby Jesus. So you've got 4 to 5 options ahead of Balogun. This is probably why Arsenal said let's sell him. Secondly, money. At the end of the day, we've spent a lot of money. We've given new contracts. We need to get some money back and balance the books per se, people. And when you look at the incomings, Raya, Timber, Havertz, Rice, and the new deals, it was an outlay. We haven't made too many significant sales. You know, Xhaka's left. A number of players have departed the club on loan, people. Tierney's left on loan. But apart from Xhaka, Pablo Marie, Austin Trusty, and now on paper, Balogun, I'm not too sure. He's made 10 appearances for Arsenal, playing 200 odd minutes. 5 of those 10 appearances came in the Europa League, where he played 60 odd minutes. When you look at it with that, it's fantastic business, really. He's played more times for Reims and Middlesbrough than he actually has for Arsenal Football Club. And I can't begrudge him for wanting to seek pastures new. He's a very ambitious player. In truth, I don't think we'll know, at least for the next season or two, if this was the right or wrong decision. There's many reasons to say we should have held on to Balogun and given him an opportunity. There's many reasons to say pull the plug, really. And when you look at what Mikel Arteta said when Jesus was injured, he said the plan with Balogun don't change. Again, you go back early in the season, Balogun said he won't go on loan, so he probably forced the club's hand. He also drew, a lot of positive comments from Mikel Arteta in the season, people. Arteta even said it's incredible what he's doing. Now, personally, I think the writing was always on the wall. I think, Arteta made his decision on Balogun a long time ago. Maybe he was open to being proven wrong or seeing something different within pre-season. But I think that was just a watershed moment, both for Balogun and Arsenal. This was just something that was always going to be done. And we wish him the best. He's joined a great club in Monaco, really. He knows the league. Again, he's going to get first-team football. I think they have an average squad age of about 23. So he's, again, similar to Arsenal. They're doing the youngster thing. Clearly, Monaco understand if and when the time comes in, he keeps developing, there's potentially resale value there. So I wish Balogun the best, man. I think you're young enough to take risks and show this ambition, really. He'll be playing under Adi Rutter, who was a manager who's drawn plaudits from Premier League clubs and has worked with young players before. So it makes complete sense for him to want to make this move.
Stay solid, nigga. Some of us gonna make it, some of us ain't. That's just how it gonna be. You know what I'm saying? You ride this shit out, nigga. And I say that, then I stand on my word about that.
Now, people, obviously, if you're seeing this part of the video, big thank you to you lot, because you're getting through towards the end. Don't forget to comment your own thoughts on Balogun, smashing the like button and subscribing. If I look at my bullet point notes, because I'm a very methodical person, I like to articulate my thoughts, I would say we don't know if this is the right or wrong decision for Balogun, because if he goes on and has a season like he did last year, maybe we potentially pulled the plug too early. Maybe that's someone that could be reintegrated into the team. I personally believe there's scope to bring in a striker, whether that's someone like Balogun or more of a household name. I wouldn't quite describe Ivan Ferguson as a household name, but we've been linked with him at Brighton, we've been linked with Osimhen again, and we've been linked with Ivan Toney. Now, clearly cash is king, but if we look at those three players that I said in Osimhen, Toney, and what's the other name I said now? Osimhen, Toney, and Ferguson, they're all kind of old school strikers, throwback strikers. I know the Brighton lad's only 18. And I do think while we've got a team that's got 80 odd goals, I think it would do us the world of good, you know, if we could bring in an organic striker, someone that can get 20, maybe even 30 league goals. We scored 80 odd goals last year. That will take us over 100 to the 100 region. And we could have the best of both worlds in that you've got Jesus aspiring to score 20 odd. You've got Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard, and all of Trossard, all of these players chipping in. You hope Havertz can find his shooting boots. Obviously, Bukayo Saka is going to keep scoring. You bring in another striker, that's another domain. I think the club looked at it in a sense of we're trying to get outgoings. We've given new players new deals, so there's an outlay there. We don't know if we're going to get rid of a lot of other players. You know, clearly Tierney, for all the links, he's only got a loan offer on the table. We don't know what's going to happen with Pepe and his wages, Lokonga, Cedric, Tavares, etc., etc. So I think Balogun was just a market opportunity, really, having given new deals, having spent significantly at this moment in time in the summer, in bringing in 4 additions, 3 of those, you know, in Timber. Obviously, in Timber, in Declan Rice and Havertz, they weren't exactly cheap. Timber was in the grand scheme of things, but they weren't actually cheap. Obviously, we spent 3 million on an initial loan deal for Raya. That is, you know, we've put an option allegedly to commit a further 27 million, in which Balogun kind of quote unquote pays for it. Not every Hay lender is going to make it here, and at the end of the day, you know, getting 30, 40 odd million euros for a player that's played 10 times for your football club is fantastic business. If they can't progress to the first team, then you need to sell them and really reinvest that. I do think, you know, we have to avoid a saga. I think we all remember the last deal Balogun signed. 1 minute he was going to go Sheffield United, then Brentford. I like Balogun's ambition. I do think he's a bit impatient, but I think that's overrated. I think it's a thing where he just wanted to be told where he figures in Arteta's plans. And I think Arteta's just made it clear that, you know, you can fight, you can prove me wrong, but opportunities are going to be limited, rightly or wrongly. This is what I'm doing. I think Jesus, Havertz, Trossard, Martinelli are all ahead of him, as do I believe in Eddie Nketiah. I believe Eddie Nketiah is ahead of him in terms of speed of thought and what Mikel Arteta demands of a striker away from scoring. And I just think from a person point of view, Arteta likes Eddie Nketiah and his professionalism and his patience. Now, I'm not saying Balogun isn't committed or isn't patient, but you've got one career. And I think if things are not making sense, you need to move. He's been, you know, exposed to first team football, sharing the pitch with numerous star players, playing week in, week out, scoring goals in the top division. This is ultimately the end goal of a footballer. And I'm sure he wouldn't, in an ideal world, you wouldn't want to leave somewhere you've been at since 10 years of age, where you've gone from being a little boy to a teenager, to a young man, to a full man in your own right, really. But it is what it is, really, because there could be a scenario you sign a new deal and you still don't have any conclusions over your future. I don't think we're helped by the fact that he's got 2 years left to run on his deal. Had he had a season like he did last year again, then obviously we might be able to get more money, but our position is weakened, people. And I don't begrudge him. In an ideal world, I would love for Balogun to sign a new deal, get integrated into the team, or go out on loan again, because I don't think there's necessarily a rush. But to Balogun's credit, why would you sign a new deal necessarily away from new finances if you can't necessarily evidently see a pathway? I don't believe Balogun sat there and said, I demand to play and things. I do think a bit of that, but I think it's a thing where, Gaffer, I'm ready. I want to see how I tie into the plans. What have them lot got that I don't have? How much minutes? And I think it was, you know, a case of, you know what? It's not making sense to stay at Arsenal, really. And he has previously spoken about how much he enjoyed being out of his comfort zone, leaving Monaco and things, leaving for Reims, sorry. So it makes sense to want to return to France because it's another year in the division, you know. I'm sure he's getting to grips with the French way of life and things like that. And again, Balogun's only 22. For me, if he has a season like he did last year, I won't be surprised. But if he doesn't, I won't be surprised because they're very volatile. I know in this day and age, you have to be the finished article at 20 years of age if you're highly rated, but that's not how football works. And I'm not saying Balogun is any of the in the realm of these lot, but you know, at 22 odd years of age, what was Harry Kane, Vardy and Aubameyang doing? Vardy was probably non-league. Aubameyang and Kane were probably on several loan spells. Strikers peak late, you know. You might not think anything of Eddie Nketiah, and he's still relatively young as a striker at 24, and there's still question marks of his own, but he's starting to finally look decent. You know, Chuba Akpom, you know, has just won an award at the PFA Awards, just like Bukayo Saka, big up Hale End. He's now starting to show his quality and got a move to Ajax. So at the end of the day, you know, Arsenal are trying to establish things today. We don't necessarily have time to wait for anyone. So yeah, and I rate Balogun because at the end of the day, the Monaco move might not work out, but he hasn't, to my knowledge. You ain't got any kids, you ain't got family. You're still young enough to take risks. If it doesn't work, you're still at a big club like Monaco, in a great league, in a great country in terms of lifestyle. And if it doesn't work out, you just move clubs again. You're still young enough to take risks and be fearless. And only being outside your comfort zone is how you truly develop. You know, and again, I would say from a club point of view, you know, we don't know how he will develop. At minimum, I believe he'll be a Premier League sort of level kind of player. But what if he begins to struggle? You have a stock where you don't know if it's going to go up, you don't know if it's going to go down. Do you hold or do you cut your losses, take profit and keep it moving? And I think Balogun somewhat is an appreciating stock, really and truly there, if I'm honest. And as I said, one thing I like about him, he's very ambitious, people. I don't think it's a case of impatience, because what are you being patient for? Minutes are currency. I think, you know what, you obviously, if you're forcing the boat to leave and clearly saying, you know what, I know one thing, I'm not going on loan, there's a degree of impatience. But I think he's just doing what he needs to do to have the career that he wants to have and keep developing, specifically, in my opinion. And I do like his ambition. As I said, at the end of the day, minutes are currency, people. I personally think the gaffer likes Eddie Nketiah a lot more as a person. Not saying Balogun's a bad person. I just think he really likes Eddie Nketiah from a personal point of view and how he handles himself and things like that, away from him evidently being ahead in the pecking order. At the end of the day, you know, injuries can happen. There is a lot of scope for players in this squad, but if you're not in the lineup, and if you're not in Arteta's plans, whether that's the starting lineup or the squad, we need to sell, we need to reinvest in things. And what I would say with Balogun, not to knock the season he had, because 22 odd goals in all comps, 21 in the league is fantastic, you know, but again, to play in a Mikel Arteta system, rightly or wrongly, it's not just about goals as a striker, it's about the wide play, the working the channels and things. And I think you've seen in pre-season, it's not that he had many minutes, he's not quite up speed, he's not up to speed with that necessarily. And I'm not criticizing him, you're not going to, you ain't been exposed to that yet. Eddie Nketiah has, so he's going to be ahead of you in that sort. And I think, for what it's worth, Balogun's general play is improving a lot, really, to a degree. To play for Mikel Arteta's side up front, it's the defensive metrics, is what you do off the ball. And I don't think, in Arteta's mind, the options, Balogun is a better bet than the options he has in front of him, whether that is Trossard and Martinelli as a false nine, Havertz the same, or Jesus and Eddie Nketiah, really and truly. So I'm not too sure, really, but I wish him all the best. As I said, he's joining a club that the average age of the squad is 23. He's joining Monaco, which have a good record with developing players. He's playing under Adil Rotter, I can't pronounce his name, forgive me, which is a good manager. He was wanted by a couple of Prem teams. He's developed players. You know, he's worked with a lot of clubs that do what Monaco and them things kind of do in terms of developing players. So I wish him all the best, really. As long as it's reinvested, who really cares? And not to knock Balogun, but I do think the fact that he got 20 odd goals is being extremely overrated. And I say that not to knock him. I just feel, you know, there's games he scored and did hardly anything. I believe 7 of those goals were penalties. I'm not knocking that, because being able to take penalties shows big bollocks and you're doing your thing. But I just think people are ultimately putting him on a pedestal that he's not on right now. And the same people that are waxing lyrical about him, when he evidently struggles, they're going to be the first to tear the man down. So I wish him all the best. At the end of the day, you know, we always want players to progress to the first team, but a true strength of your academy is developing people before players. And also, you know, in my opinion, anyways, this is just my opinion, the true strength of your academy is the level of career that players can have when they haven't necessarily made it at Arsenal. Joe Willock's still playing Premier League football. Iwobi's playing Premier League football. Ainsley Maitland-Niles finds himself over there in France as well with Lyon. Hope there's a reunion there. And there's several other examples. I think, with that being said, you know, I can't remember every player, but Tyrese, John Jules, Balogun, that kind of age range, I think that was the 2017 scholarships. I could be wrong. I think Tyrese, John Jules is the only one that's remained. And to be honest, you know, as much as Bukayo Saka and Smith Rowe and Nelson and Eddie, they're all success stories of the academy, so are the Willocks, the Baloguns, etc., having decent careers in decent leagues. At the end of the day, you got one career to live, man. And at 20 odd years of age, if the manager is saying things that you don't necessarily agree with, or you can't see a pathway, you need to leave. Because from a selfish point of view, I'd love for a Balogun to of been whispered sweet nothings by the manager, commit his future, sign a new deal, and then we're in a position of strength. End of the day, there's 2 years left on his deal. in a day and age where there isn't too many strikers to wax lyrical about, and there isn't too many sellable assets per se at Arsenal Football Club. Yes, Tierney would be one, but he's only gone on loan. Smith Rowe and Partey have been linked with moves away. They haven't gone. Xhaka probably forced Arteta's hands. You know, I think Pepe's a good player, but we're hardly flooded with offers. I do think there's a decent player in Lokonga. We're hardly flooded with offers. Nuno Tavares seems to be going on loan. Cedric, Rob Holding, players of that ilk, we don't know what's going on. So we had to do it. You look at Austin Trusty, had a great year at Birmingham. We've sold him for a small profit, albeit, but there's a profit there. Obviously, Balogun's had a great season. He's only played 10 times for Arsenal and he's made 40 odd million pounds. That's a success story of the academy in its own, and we wish him the best, really and truly, or I wish him the best. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on Balogun. Is it the right or wrong decision? Have Arsenal made a mistake? Comment below. Comment when the video premieres. Like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate you lot as always for tuning in and things like that. Hope you and your loved ones are doing well and safe. So yeah, man, let me know your thoughts. Boost the YouTube algorithm by hitting the like button, commenting and subscribing. One love for your time, and I'll see you lot all again soon.
There's always just that active red flag defending. I think it's like